Welcome to video 1.4, Overview of the E2 directory structure. In the previous video, we learned how to install the E2 basic application template. In this video, we're going to take a closer look at the files and directories that make up the basic application template. First, we will walk through each directory and give an explanation of what files they contain. Then, we will explore how Yi uses namespaces to allow its autoloader to quickly find the files that our classes will depend upon. The first thing we'll do is go ahead and open the Monster Mash directory in our IDE. If you look at the left side of the PHP Storm application, you'll see all of the folders and files that make up the E2 basic application template. Let's walk through each of these folders and discuss their role. First up is the Assets directory. You'll see that this directory contains a file called appasset.php. We'll discuss assets in more detail in section 5, but in short, this file is used to define the front-end assets, such as style sheets and JavaScript, that your application will use. Next, we'll move over to the config folder. We'll discuss application configuration in more detail in the next video, but for now you just need to know that all of our configuration files are stored in this directory. As you may know, Yi is an application framework that implements the MVC, or Model View Controller pattern. We'll talk more about the specifics of Yi's implementation in the second section of our course, but as you can see, we have a controllers folder, a models folder, and a views folder, and each of those contains objects of that type. Moving on, we'll look at the tests folder. Testing will be explained in great detail in section 3. Yi uses the Codeception testing framework for its automated tests, and this is the directory where you will store those tests, as well as the Codeception configuration files. The vendor directory is where Composer installs all of your project libraries, including the Yi framework files. You won't typically interact with this directory manually, as Composer handles this for you. Let's take a look at the web directory. As we saw in the last video, this will serve as the web root of our project, and it's where Yi stores all of your front-end assets, as well as its own entry script, index.php. All incoming requests will be routed through this script, which is quite basic as you can see. It simply loads the framework files and autoloader, as well as your application configuration, and then uses that configuration to create a new application instance. You may notice that we skipped a few folders: commands, mail, and runtime. The commands folder contains console-based scripts. Mail is where Yi stores templates for HTML emails. And runtime is where Yi stores its debug data and application logs. Finally, let's take a look at namespaces in Yi. Namespaces follow the PSR4 standard. Let's open one of the classes in the basic application template and try to understand what's happening. Open the controllers folder and click on sitecontroller.php. The first line that you'll see is the namespace declaration. That tells the autoloader where this class is located. Please note that in this case, app is an alias to our project's root directory. Next, you'll see some use statements, which allow us to use shortcuts to our dependent classes in our site controller code. For instance, you'll see use app, models, contact form. If we scroll down to line 79, we can see that we instantiate a new contact form object. The use statement that we saw earlier tells Yi's autoloader to look for that class file in the models subdirectory of our application root. And sure enough, when we open the models directory, we can find the contact form class, which is under the app models namespace. For more information on the PSR4 standard, visit www.php-fig.org/PSR/PSR4. Yi defines several aliases to make life easier. For instance, Yi refers to the framework directory, while web refers to the directory containing your index.php. A full list can be found at www.yi-framework.com/doc-2.0/guide-concept-aliases.html #predefined-aliases. At this point, you should feel comfortable finding files in the basic application template. You should also know how to tell Yi's autoloader where to find dependent classes using namespaces. Next, We will figure out how to configure our application and extend its core components in order to add to or modify their existing functionality.